Hi, I'm Joe Hage, and I have the privilege of leading your medical devices group, which, as of this recording, has more than 350,000 members worldwide, plus Elliot, and plus Todd Hartley, our guest today. He's someone that I've admired for some time. His work in video and telling stories in medical devices is, I don't know, unparalleled. Can we go with that?
Sounds good to me.
About me telling you about Todd. Todd, tell us about Todd, and I'm eager to see your presentation. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Joe, this is so much fun. Look, along the way, we're going to answer questions as we proceed ahead. My story with medical devices actually starts when I was creating the first video medical encyclopedia on the internet. It had 8,000 videos, and I was doing an interview with an electrophysiologist. In the middle of that interview, I started to notice that every symptom that the electrophysiologist was explaining, I had felt my whole life. And I started to realize I had an issue. So I started asking the doctor about the symptoms that a patient would experience. And the doctor said, if a patient's having those, they should come in and see their doctor right away. And the next morning, I was in that doctor's office getting a workup. And he told me I'd have a severely weakened heart in 3 to 5 years, and I needed a procedure right away. So on my way to the hospital, I trained my wife, who's a yoga instructor, how to use my camera, and here's what she captured.
Todd is now being sedated, watching his resting heart rate.
Now you see, it was important for me to capture this, because that device made by Medtronic would go into my heart and it would map out the exact spot that was throwing off my irregular rhythm, which I'm going to show you right now. There it is. They pulled out the mapping device, put in the ablation device, and now 11 years later, everything is perfect for me. I started an agency. We service a ton of medical device companies and life science companies like Cool Sculpting and Medtronic and Muradry. And what we do is we help them generate revenue faster. And in this webinar, you're going to find out why customer acquisition is getting harder. You're going to understand what to say and in what order to get your prospects to buy más rápido. We're going to brainstorm video topics for your business. I'm also going to explain why you need to be using video and how to use relevant stories to command your prospects' attention. So let's do this, all right? The business world has changed. You know, back in the day, in the old business world, doctors actually need salespeople to hold their hand and move them one step at a time through the sales process. But then the content marketing boom happened, and customers, healthcare professionals, physicians, surgeons became more comfortable looking for information online, and it became an expectation that all of the answers would be there. In fact, now 82% of buyers say they don't want to talk to a salesperson until they're ready to make a buying decision. Now, you're probably no different. This is the way humans are operating now. None of us want to talk to salespeople. We want to go through the joy of learning about a product before we make a decision. And now the customer is 57% of the way through their journey before they talk to a salesperson. Let's talk about that journey. In this webinar, I'm going to break down what that journey looks like. I'm going to explain why you need to have an organized and controlled journey and how to optimize the process, the transfer of information about your device into your prospect's head so buying becomes a no-brainer. Today's buyers, and you should write this down, use this for every project, every device, every campaign. Today's buyers, because of the content marketing revolution, expect every business to provide them with a buying experience that is on demand. Why on demand? Because we don't want to talk to salespeople. That's personalized. Why personalized? Because if you're, as you're going to see, a breast surgeon, there's no reason you should be going through a device product page that's about multiple different procedures, right? The more personalized, the better results you get. And all of that information needs to be binge worthy because you need to move people through your buyer's journey at faster rates and be more captivating. Write that down, commit it to your projects, and you need to tell stories. Stories are the glue that binds your prospect's attention into your solution. In fact, the story is like the one true human sticky constant. It's been used in cave drawings and around campfires to hold attention. Kindles do it, Netflix, and the best businesses in the world have salespeople that have already optimized the stories they tell in different situations. I'm going to show you how to do that from a marketing perspective and how to get your sales team on board, telling the stories that close deals faster. So why do we use video? Well, your prospects, they don't want to burn any mental calories learning about your device. They just don't. In fact, they want to learn like this. They want to lean back in their chair at the office. They want to have that grin on their face that feels like pleasure, right? And as children of the television generation and as marketers, we need to get all of our prospects leaning back, enjoying the information, and going on this journey. Remember, they don't care about your device. They care about the solution your device provides for them, and we'll dig deeper into that. Now, why video? People are 4 times more likely to watch video than to read text. All we're really doing is optimizing the sales process. I'm not beholden to video. I'm not when I opened up my digital marketing agency that specializes in video in the health space, I didn't do it because I owned a camera. I did it because I knew people got the best results from video. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in video compared to only 10% when they're reading it in text. It's about optimization. As soon as you get people nodding and advocating and talking to their colleagues, your sales job, your marketing job just became significantly easier. And after watching a product or service video, buyers are now 85% more likely to buy. Boom, that's what we're doing. We're optimizing the yes. And we do that by making it personal and relevant. Now, one of the things I get to do is I get to advise billion-dollar companies. I was just last Monday at a headquarters for a $5 billion company talking to them about their products. And what I'm about to talk with you about is going to take more work on your side, but it's going to yield significantly better results. We don't do things because it takes less time. We do things because they yield the right results and deprioritize the things that aren't as valuable. Make sense? All right, so let's dig in on personal and relevant and why that's important. You may remember earlier I was talking about how a device needs to be on-demand, binge-worthy, and personalized, the information, right? So this is where it works in. You see, there's a power to relevant customer journeys. It used to be in the old world product-centric, where a device manufacturer would create a page and it would be servicing one type of customer, and then everybody would have to figure out how it's relevant to them. But that one-size-fits-all model doesn't work anymore. And the companies that are growing the fastest, the Davids that are right now slaying Goliath, are creating customer-centric journey pages. Now, the customer journey addresses an individual persona's needs and concerns directly. And the more relevant that page is, the better the results are going to be. So here's a customer journey page for our client, Thermo Fisher Scientific. And Thermo Fisher, this is a long page. It goes on, but it provides all the relevant information for a medical oncologist in one place to make a smart buying decision. So what is the goal of a journey page? To provide that central location where you know you can send people, where they can start the journey, go through, raise their hand when they're ready to make a buying decision. And the way you make these personal is you recognize that each persona needs their own unique journey. They're from different universes. Persona 1, which could be a breast surgeon, and persona 2 could be a urologist. They need different journeys because they speak, remember, they're from different universes. They speak different languages. They're inspired by different outcomes. They are trying to accomplish different things. And the way that you say hyper relevant and personal is you make that page about them. Remember, the more relevant and personal, the better your end results are going to be. So if you have multiple personas and you're going to be talking with a breast surgeon, you send off that breast surgeon page, right? And you don't make them go through everything. So I'm going to show you very quickly the Wirebuzz messaging framework. Keep in mind, we do 2,700 medical videos a year. We got this thing dialed down to a science. And there's a messaging framework that smart marketers go through when they want to organize the logical thought sequence in their prospect's head. So let's look at this Thermo Fisher page. Remember, if you sell a different device, it doesn't matter because everything I'm teaching is transferable to your product. You just have to bridge that gap, right? So here's the messaging framework. First thing on this page, every time, that page needs to start off with, what does this target customer, this persona care about today? What does a breast surgeon care about today? Followed by, let's move this page. There I go. I'm scrolling this page for you. Don't worry about the page. Worry about the messaging. What is the real problem that your product solves that fulfills the surface level desire listed above? What your target customer cares about today. That's the second thing you do. And by the way, these are short little blocks of text, just like Apple does on the iPhone page. That short little block of text should be like 40 words or 50 words. If you need more information, click here to read more, and you take them off this journey page and you bring them to more information on that little piece of the journey. So once you've discussed what the real problem is, then you have to discuss what the bad options are. And the bad options are your competitor's device. Now, this is where people start getting a little bit of arrhythmia because they're scared to talk about their competitors. But if 82% of your customers don't want to talk to a salesperson until they're ready to make a buying decision, what they're doing is what you do. They're searching on Google, looking for information about the competitor. What is the limitation? And if they don't see your information, they will bounce to the competitor's page and start researching against your product, because the marketers are now responsible for a larger percentage of the buyer's journey than ever before. So start adjusting, provide the relevant information that your customer is expecting, and keep them longer. Frame up why the competitor's product isn't the best solution. And then, and only then, can you talk about why your solution is the best. Most companies make the mistake of starting at point 4 on this list in the framework when they're talking about their product, and it isn't relevant yet, because much like dating, the first thing you have to do is talk about what they care about today and align. Once you've aligned, then you can move them through your journey. Got it? So point 4, what is the best solution, which obviously is yours. And then the last thing you do on that page are what are the lingering questions or doubts that need to be knocked down in order for your target customer to buy. All of that on that page. Let me tell you about our client, Cool Sculpting. I'm going to show you their messaging framework, their messaging off of the Wirebuzz framework that I just taught you, okay? So do you know what Cool Sculpting is? Cool Sculpting freezes off the stubborn last 10 pounds of fat. They've got 3 target customers that they're looking for. What do they care about today? Each one of them cares about slightly different things, so they need 3 different journeys. They care about a double chin. They care about, another one cares about how to eliminate belly fat, and the third persona cares about how to lose their last 10 pounds. So we have on-ramps. You can see on-ramps listed right there. That's where you're finding people off of social, and each of them you're targeting differently, because the more personal, more relevant, the better your end results are going to be with a sale. What is the real problem or desire? Now, what's really cool about Cool Sculpting, and it may work for your products, but it doesn't for many, is all 3 of their personas, the double chin person, they eliminate the belly fat, and the last 10 pounds, all 3 of those journeys intersect for Cool Sculpting at point number 2 in the messaging framework. What is the real problem or desire? And that is to get rid of stubborn fat. to increase confidence, right? So at this point, the messaging for all 3 different customer journeys are virtually the same, but the visuals are different, right? The video is slightly different. We're talking about somebody with a double chin on one page and somebody with belly fat on another, because we're pumping up the jam on hyper relevance. So once you've discussed what the real problem is, what are the bad options? Well, liposuction's a bad option. Here's why. Diet and exercise hasn't worked for you. Fasting never did. Once you address those limitations from competitors, then you talk about the best solution, which is obviously cool sculpting for freezing off fat. And once you've made that case, then you could talk about any lingering questions or doubts. They aren't relevant until that point. Does it hurt? Not relevant until you've decided what the best option is. You have any deals or promos? Well, that wouldn't be relevant on the top of the page because you haven't convinced them yet, right? Most businesses are all misaligned. Take a photo of this, use it for your business. And if your product is complex, don't try to do it with one video on that page or even one page. If you've got a super complex product, then add more videos wherever it gets complex and move that person to the next step and create several pages if you need to. Now, the reason that I am gung-ho on convincing and converting faster by being hyper relevant is the first time I did this, and I fought it for a long time in my career. This is my 20th year in digital marketing. And I fought my team. Oh no, that's too hard. That's too complex. But the results bear out the slight level of complexity increase. We created for an insurance company. They service patients. They also service employers and brokers. But they used to have one customer journey, one size fits all is good enough. Then we created 3 personal journeys for them. And they had 6,000 patients when we launched this campaign. This is their baseline. Within 4 months of launching the 3 different customer journeys, they were onboarding 290,000 patients, a 48 times increase. That is worth the extra work every single day. And that is a stat that everybody on that team is now using as a marketing for their next job. It's one of these transformational stats that everybody deserves. If you want to learn more about customer journey, by the way, I host a Toddcast. And on the Toddcast, on episode 193, we talk about customer journeys. We're up in the 200s now, but let's talk about how you take what you just learned and set your sales team up to be very, very effective. All right, we use video and prospecting for sales. Why? Not because it's a little bit harder, because it yields results. Sales reps that use video and prospecting, relationship building, and sales emails see a 5 times higher open rate and an 8 times higher open to reply rate. That little stat turns a salesperson into a guru. And there's no reason why you can't systematize that across your entire sales team. That's what I'm doing right now with billion-dollar companies, creating the assets and then training the sales team to be more compelling out in the field. And then ultimately, once you have all your different personas and customer journeys, you create a playbook. Now the playbook allows each of your teams, marketing, sales, and events to run plays based on the right type of customer, right? And let me give you an example on the first time my company started using this. We started in a 30-day free trial of HubSpot. This is the first time we started our sales team using video to be more compelling. And in that 30-day free trial, before I gave HubSpot any money, we sent out emails with videos to our target customers in the medical space and generated $350,000 in new revenue during the free HubSpot 30-day free trial. And what we ultimately did on the back end is tracked everybody. So when one person went through a video, this is an Invite video for our client, and you can see they watched 98% of this video. One prospect inside the CRM watched 98%, and do you see that red box? That red box is an indicator in the CRM that this one prospect went over the 80% mark of the video. Now, why is that important? Because the more attention span somebody displays, the bigger they are as a potential customer. Attention span is an indicator of buyer's interest. So what we did is we set up a trigger. This trigger, now watch this, this revolutionized my career. This trigger at the 80% mark is like a tripwire. If somebody goes off it, goes past it, an email goes to our sales rep that says, Todd, Dr. So-and-so from Cedars-Sinai just watched over 80% of this video. Here's his contact information. Call him, because time kills deals. And when we did that, everything started changing. That's how we generated $350,000 in our first 30-day free trial. Now, before business meetings, your salesperson should send out an email to the appropriate persona's landing page. When that person goes through, retarget them. And as they go around the internet subtly over 500 days, get back in front of them with your solution. Because they're not done with the buying experience, just like you aren't done shopping for those damn shoes in your tabbed folder on your computer. You're still in the buying process. Stay in front of them, bring them back. After meetings, if you didn't send it to them or they didn't watch it, follow up. Hey, Doc, I'm going to send you a video, and you use video. You don't send them, you're going to tell them you're going to send them text, because people are too lazy to read that. So you're going to send them video that they can watch that's going to answer that question or solve that problem. On the events floor, here's Bayer, client of ours. These are all different people. How do you sort them and send them the appropriate page? Well, you train your sales team on location to sort each person into the appropriate persona bucket. So after the event, you can send them follow-up emails to schedule meetings. And if they look at that page but don't schedule a meeting, retarget them. That's how you take that event and turn it into something profitable. Anyway, that is me boiling down my 90 minutes on how to sell medical devices faster into, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And I am happy with Joe to answer any questions on how you can sell your devices faster. Joe?
I'm back. So I have, as I said at the opening of our presentation today, this is going to be a bit of a conversation for me and Todd. We've done this certainly off camera, but you brought up some points, and I want to hit you with the objections I can hear ringing in my head from people watching this video, but not saying it themselves. One of them is they're going to say, that's fine for you, but this looks like it's really hard. It takes a lot of effort. I don't have the support, the budget. We don't have a creative person here. You're very creative. You can just make this stuff. I wouldn't even know where to start. And as I said, I had no budget. So is this presentation relevant to me? And Todd, I'm going to ask, go ahead, rewind, if you will, back to another page. I'll certainly send out your contact information, but let them kind of look at one of the pages where you have some really good data on it.
All right. And by data, I think I'm going to the messaging framework. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. There we go.
So easy for you, expensive for me, don't know where to start. How do you answer that?
Well, look, I'm going to be just real candid. It's getting computers for our company was expensive, but it was the right thing to do. Hiring a sales staff was expensive, but it was the right thing to do. I don't know if my responsibility here is to handle all the objections. My responsibility is just to show people how to sell faster and how to get out of this old paradigm, because the old paradigm doesn't work anymore because access to physicians is declining at a very rapid rate. So it's easy for me. It's easy for me because I understand the blueprint, but I just put it up on the screen. So who couldn't write about what the target customer cares about today? Let me break these customers down. Let's talk about a breast surgeon. There isn't just one type of breast surgeon. Every salesperson knows there's multiple types of sales of breast surgeons. There's the one that uses the competitor product. So what they care about today is a little bit different. Now I'm adding complexity, right? But I'm adding complexity because the way the sales team uses these pages and understands the context in which the prospect is coming onto the page will ultimately determine the outcome. And salespeople do this all day long. So if I was a marketer, like I am, I would spend time with my clients' best salespeople and first understand who the different types of personas are. And I would understand, oh, you've got a surgeon that uses a competitor product. That page starts at one direction. You've got a surgeon that doesn't use a device for this procedure. They've never used a device for this procedure. And you've probably got a surgeon that doesn't understand the data and is upset about the data confusion. Maybe that page starts a little bit differently. And in doing so, we become like Tom Brady lining up against the defense and running the appropriate play at the right time by understanding the context. We've always said that content is king, right? But Gary Vaynerchuk took it one step further, and I believe this 100%. If context is king, then, if content is king, then context, which is basically what context this target customer cares about when they come onto the page, context is God. And the sooner we understand that and market to that context, the better results we'll get. Now, how expensive is this? I don't know. You could do videos on your own. People shoot videos every day with their phone.
Right.
Do I recommend it? No. Are there cheap solutions? Yes. Is the question, but I don't know how to use a camera. There's a lot of people who didn't know how to use a computer, but they figured it out in order to be more effective.
I think it's Darren Rouse, who runs ProBlogger, has a site dedicated to photography and how to take photographs and video, and there are online courses you could take for free. I mean, I use this for video. It's not the caliber that I get out of hiring you, but you know, if they say pictures 1,000 words, then video is what, 1,000,000? So
right.
Even if it's not the best video, it's better than nothing. My
right.
buddy Tom Kramer asks, do you make all these pages as landing pages in HubSpot?
So tricky question. Yes, and it depends. So what do I mean by that? Well, we do for our company. Like, if I would tell you we've got a device page for our clients that are medical device marketers, right? Because I drink my own Kool-Aid. And so that page, wirebuzz.com/device, is made on a HubSpot template. But we don't upset our client's apple cart. So if our client's not on HubSpot and doesn't have the budget for it, we'll provide cost-effective recommendations that would work for them.
Okay,
cool.
I'm going to launch the poll that I told you about ahead of time and see what folks have to say. In the
meantime, I have this camera right here in front of me.
At the moment, I think this poll that I just launched, and I'm not sure if this is true for everybody, I can't see you or the screen. All I can see is this poll. It's the first time I've done one, so bear with me, folks.
No worries.
I'd love it if, let's say we have just another, say 15 seconds, if you'll go ahead and vote, and then I'll tell you the results. We're at the 50% mark. If you haven't clicked the button, just choose one. We appreciate it. And I'll settle for 2 out of 3 participating. And here is the answer. I think I pushed this button. What did we get? Did it not say? Manage polls, show the
I got
answer.
it.
Does it say? Does it
yes.
show the answer?
Yeah, drop down below. I'll do the polls. So
okay,
is this one about your website?
Yes, let's see. Do I hit share? There we go.
All right. 15% say I'm embarrassed by it. 19% say it's not that bad. 51% says it's okay. 13% says it's pretty good, actually. And 2% say, I challenge you to find a better one. Now, I'm always in the process of redoing mine. I think it's just part of the reality of the world today.
Are you surprised by that answer?
No.
I'm surprised that 1 in 8 are just plain embarrassed. It's like, how did it get that bad? How long has it been since it's been updated?
I'll tell you, I mean, if it's, for me, this is an obvious one. When you have clients the size of mine, the The people that are on the marketing team really don't have any say over the corporate website. Corporate website is created by different people. Maybe the corporate communications team that doesn't have the same marketing sensibilities. And so these two siloed teams dislike the work that the other one does.
Well, actually, I have a very relevant anecdote for a client that I'm working with right now. And they came to me with the problem that, we're doing webinars and we're doing white papers and we get hundreds of downloads. And then my sales guys call and they want nothing to do with them.
Right.
What should we do? I have an answer that I offer them. What's yours?
Well, can you do me one favor and just restate the question so I understand specifically where you want me to go?
Sure. I have a client that has hundreds of leads, in quotes, and then marketing hands the leads to sales.
Right.
And sales says, nobody's picking up the phone. Nobody's getting back to me. So your leads are bad. And the marketing team is saying,
yes,
if you knew what to do with them, they wouldn't be so bad.
Right.
And there is your great conflict between marketing and sales, storied in history.
Yes.
What's your answer to that?
82% of buyers do not want to talk to a salesperson until they're ready to buy. So having changed the definition of what a marketing qualified lead is and recognize that marketing now has to do a larger percentage of that journey in order for people to make a buying decision. I mean, customers 57% of the way through the journey before they want to talk to a salesperson. And most businesses don't even have an airtight journey yet. They don't have a framework that they're operating on. So
I agree.
I think
But
you've got
to call you on something you mentioned in your presentation, which I love, and I actually, while you were talking, I typed to the group, pay attention here, this is my favorite insight. When you had the doctor watch 80% of the video, and then you had an automatic email go to the sales guy and say, Dr. Jones, just watch this, call him. Don't you get pushback like, that's kind of creepy, or you just told me 82% don't want to talk to a sales guy, and now you're watching me and you knew to call me right away, and that's the last thing I wanted.
Sure.
Your response?
Yeah, there's a ridiculous stat off the top of my head. It's like if you call somebody a prospect within the first 5 or 10 minutes of them looking at your content, you're 500% more likely to interact with them. This is customer service. This is where it starts. It doesn't start when somebody buys the product. It starts on how you can be helpful. And if it feels creepy, get over it. The business world has changed. You may leave a message, but you are a part of that story, and they will raise their hand and talk with you when they're ready. But at least you should try interacting with them. Here, check this out. If you go to a conference and you have 600 people stop by and look at your device, and you don't know which of those 600 love it and which one were just there for the Reese's peanut butter cups that you have conveniently wrapped at the front of your table. So you send this out to everybody, you look on the back end, and now you know who's interested in your product enough to prioritize where your sales team's time is spent. Like most companies have never-ending sales cycles because they're chasing everybody around with the same level of urgency, right? So how we remove the people that aren't showing interest and how we prioritize those that are already going through the material, those people are your quickest customers to convert.
I muted myself because Elliot wants to participate in this webinar.
Love it. Love Elliot.
Yes, I do too. This is very similar to a conversation that I had with subscribers and customers years ago. I have been ardently recommending live chat. I have it on right now.
Yeah.
If somebody goes to any of my websites right now, it says I'm online, and 15 seconds into their visit, a little slider comes and says, hi, it's Joe, I'm online, how can I help you today? And I had some people like, there's just no way I will do that. It's invasive. I hate pop-ups and never going to happen. And I said, my thinking is that A, someone who feels that offended by the fact that you asked, can I help you right now, probably wasn't going to buy anything from you anyhow.
Yeah.
They could always hit the X box as well. And I can personally tie tens of thousands of dollars to the Hage family based on people having just said, is this really you, Joe? Or are you a robot? And I'll write bleep, bloop, and they say, that's funny. And I start talking with them and they're like, wow, this is a real person who's really interacting with me. It makes a difference. Oh, but I don't have the staff for it. I don't either. It's just me sitting here, typically in my pajamas.
Right.
If it goes bleep, I just type a message. And if it's a bigger organization, I can have 3 or 4 people manning it, and whomever gets to it first. Great. I have a couple questions that have queued up here.
Joe, before you
yes.
do that,
Yes.
it's important for people to recognize what you just explained. There's always going to be excuses for not doing the right thing. My wife and I had a very personal conversation this morning, and my excuse was, I don't have the time to do the right thing. I know what the right thing to do is. What's holding me back is my opposition to it. And I encourage everybody that is watching that's having those same conversations about their work and their results to reprioritize the right thing and to remove the other things that may not be yielding the same results.
That, we could do this all day. It reminds me of someone saying, I can't get fired hiring IBM. That other thing is kind of new and shiny. Look, I've been going to trade shows. I have my evaluation coming up. I'm expected to produce 3 trade shows. And what you're talking about, what am I supposed to say? Like, I answered 3 tweets. I manned live chat. What does that look like on my?
Yeah.
And I say, I get it. It's one of the reasons, frankly, I work for myself, because I don't have to justify what I know is working. Video is working, telling stories is working. The folks on the phone probably learned about this webinar because I wrote a blog post about it. Those blog posts I write when I send these to you every Tuesday or Wednesday, guess how much time I spend on them? Maybe at least 4 to 5 hours a week. Why? I enjoy writing, and because every time I'm giving information, I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm telling a story. I choose to type it because I believe most of my readers prefer a quick scan. But recently, I've included your video. I've included podcasts. I've included other ways for people to learn and given them the choice. Video and audio are so important. My most important advice this year is for folks to record yourselves. And I say this so urgently because most of the folks on this line don't write copy for a living. We're not asking you to, but you're really, really good at what you do. So Tom, I know, is on the phone. Tom is an expert in design and development for medical device products. I'm not asking you, Tom, to write a blog post. I'm asking you to do your job and record it. And you will say something to a client, or you will say something in a meeting that's like, oh, that's really good. You can repurpose that into an audio, and you can add some video to it or something later on and share it. That's what I do. And it just so happens that I'm sharing marketing stuff, so it's like, yeah, but that's what you do. It works for every discipline.
That's right.
Robin asks, how was your search engine optimization affected by changing your silo approach, Todd? So you have a medical device page, you have a breast surgeon page, a urologist page. What does that do, if anything, to your search engine optimization successes?
Well, you're going to have a better job. Well, look, the answer to every marketing question is it depends, because in some cases, clients want to keep their navigation simple, and then they hide these customer journey pages, so just the sales team uses them situationally. In those scenarios, it does nothing for your SEO, right? Because they've been hidden or de-indexed. But for companies that do provide that information, they don't drop it too far down into the navigation where it won't be indexed, then those pages can yield tremendous results because they're more specific. They're using the right language that let's use the breast surgeon example. By creating a more specific page, you're now in alignment with what a breast surgeon is going to be searching for. By creating a product-centric as opposed to a customer persona-centric journey, by creating a product-centric, you don't have any of those key phrases in there. So you won't be discovered by your specialist.
And I'm okay with that. For example, if, Robin, you found the 5 people who really need a $100,000 system, and you spoke to them and answered them and what they need really specifically, I don't need to be on page 1 for that. There's not going to be that kind of search volume. And very few of the things that we're working on, the folks on the phone, are going to have that kind of search volume. You just need to make sure that you get as specific as you can. And boy, does that sound exhausting. What, am I going to tell a story for every possible scenario?
No, just your most common ones,
And
right?
you can
So
probably break it down to what are the 5 most common questions that somebody, I say, when somebody asks me to make a website for them, they say, how do you go about it? And what do you this and that? I say, if it were your website, Todd, I'd say, my job is to make a virtual Todd.
Right.
You can't be available 24/7, but people are going to come visit and look 24/7. So if somebody walked up to you in a trade show booth and extended your hand and they said, so what do you do? That's what your website should say, so that they can find out where they are in the journey. If they have a more specific question and you take them right to there, you are virtually answering their questions. There's no amount of questions that you can't put on your website, so that it's available for 82% of the people who don't want to have to call and talk to Todd because they're afraid Todd's going to try to sell them something.
That's right.
They'll self-select. I want more information. This guy knows what he's talking about.
And then the one thing I'd like to add to that is I think that website needs to be about your customer and what they're expecting and less about a portfolio. And I put this page up for a reason. If I make this page my website, it's about Todd. It's not about what that end user that's coming to the website is looking for, but what is in alignment with that. Like if you went to my website, the first thing you're going to see is video marketing that generates ROI, a return on investment, because that's in alignment with what the people that hear me speak. I'm a speaker. They hear me on stage, they go to the website, they're like, cool, this guy's focused on what I need to accomplish. And then keep in mind, most people are going to come through specific pages. And if your sales team uses the right collateral, your sales team will be more effective. And the marketing team is really the in-house agency that services the sales team's needs. And instead, marketing fights in most of these companies, sales, and neither of them respect each other because neither of them are on the same page working for the same goal to make the sales team more effective. So there's a lot of resentment that takes place. But one of the things that I've discovered recently that works the best is we get senior leadership in our office here. They come out and learn. And the senior leadership then goes back to the office and brings us in to level up the rest of the team. And now everybody's got the same vision. And this is what I was doing at this $5 billion company last Monday. Was they already had their senior leadership for training in my office. And they probably did 3 visits out here. Then we leveled up the rest of the team because in most cases, the marketing inside of those companies, these are people that might be scientists, especially in the medical space. They may not really be marketers. They may not be aware of personalization, on demand, and binge-worthy content. And in order to get that mindset, it needs to be a directive that comes from up above.
Fair enough. Yep. And today's post that I shared with the medical devices group was called "Need a Job, Distribution, or Financing? Do this first." And it is exactly what you just said. Usually they ask me, I'm looking for and I say, nobody cares what you're looking for. Yep. They want to know, how can you help them?
Right.
And if you frame it that way, and I give some examples of how to do that, you got the question, do you think this concept of using video and stories is usable universally, like in all regions of the world and for all types of customers? For example, a doctor with a practice versus a government institution like a health ministry.
Yes. I love this question, and it's going to take me a moment. So give me a moment. People, when you have data sets that are ginormous, you realize that people are people and they act on human interests and not so much on a professional title as a special subset. Now I can make this claim because 40% of all mobile downloads come from YouTube. That's 40% of the entire world on mobile devices is going and using YouTube. 15% of all internet bandwidth is being used by Netflix. Two companies, 55% of the entire world's bandwidth consumed by video. Now, this doesn't include Facebook, which has billions in their audience. And Facebook has discovered that if you want to keep people on Facebook longer, put video in front of them. And if businesses want to keep people longer, put video in front of them. And all of these platforms are realizing that it doesn't matter about demographics. It's not like white people watch more video than black people, or our surgeons don't watch video, but plastic surgeons do. It is people are drawn to the path to least resistance when it comes to education. So what is that path? Video. And if you're nostalgic about text, none of this is saying don't use text. Text plays a role, and it's a supportive role. But as bandwidth becomes more available, as we enter into this next era where 5G becomes available, everybody is adopting video. In fact, right now, video makes up a total of 88% of the entire world's downloadable data.
Repeat
all
that.
All the internet, 88% right now. It's only going to get more.
Huh. That's just a big number that I lost my train of thought, which was the original video that I watched that had me find you, the 40-minute one. You included I don't recall if you included it today, the screen about how you have 3 videos on the home page. Did you include that in this presentation?
I talked about it when I did the cool sculpting example of the messaging framework. And then at the very end, I said, and if that page is more complex, or your product is more complex, or people stall out in your sales process, add more videos on that page.
Tell us what the 3 videos are, the 3 kinds of video that you recommend.
Yeah, I think I want to tell you it depends about your product. The first thing we do is a strategy session, and we understand what the client's needs are. But on the top of the page, typically you're going to have an overview video about that product as it pertains to that specific persona's needs. Mm-hmm. It goes on the top of the page. Now, somewhere down here by what are the bad options and what is the best solution is a customer testimonial story. It is a story. We are children of the television generation. Take people on a journey story where they can see a peer, a key opinion leader, a KOL, a rock star doctor they know, love, and trust, using their device in their practice. And in that video, you're doing the same thing. If the video is going to be right there in what are the bad options and what is the best solution, then that video is going to talk about, I got started in breast surgery and I was using device XYZ, but it wasn't the right option for me because of bing, bing, bing. And I got frustrated. You're basically telling a transformational story like Rocky. Then I met my lovable mentor, input device name, input company name, who showed me that they had the best solution available because it allowed me to do X, Y, and Z. And now I'm in the OR with only 50% of the time. So I'm able to do double the amount of cases. And the revision rates have dropped, which made me more effective in treating patients and providing better outcomes. Like, we know these stories. If I switched over to another slide deck, I'm going to be giving a speech in Dallas this week, but let me pull this up.
While you do, I'm going to change the screen for a sec and show you something that I believe tells the story of, can you see my screen?
I can't because I have something else up there, but let me figure that out. Give me a second.
Folks see the screen. I think I successfully switched to me.
They can, I can't, but you can go ahead.
Okay,
I'll figure it out.
This is a video. This is a site that I worked on a while ago. I had to go to the Wayback Machine because this is the before case. A video is not a video, is not a video. This video did not invite people to wonder what it was. And while they had this video up for 5 years, it was embedded from YouTube. It had been played 240 times that amount of time. And when I was trying to learn what does this product do, they had to explain it and explain it. And once they did, we redesigned their site, and I included this little bit of video. It's silent, and it's just a little bit of animation that explains that a transesophageal echo probe goes down the esophagus and takes ultrasound pictures of the heart. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Just compare this to this.
Right.
It's night and day.
Right.
So not all video has to be, this is 15 seconds of animation. I'll give you the camera back, but how much of a story does that tell? It's clear what the difference is.
I like what you did there. There's actually a lot of smart things that you did on that page. And one of the things I'd like to point out for people is because the video is the most valuable asset on the entire page. People are 4 times more likely to watch it, 85% more likely to buy. Most companies, when they get started with video, marketers deprioritize it because they fall in love with the design. But design should be following what the goal is. And the goal is to transfer. The goal is the most important thing. Transfer the most amount of information in the least amount of time and prioritize the most valuable assets to the top of the page because you want to run the most number of people through it. Often people hide the video in the right sidebar or bury it down below. And you did a great job prioritizing. And now earlier you asked me about the messaging or that story. Oh, 3 videos on a page. The first one's about the product, but it's really about what does this customer care about today and how does, that is the first thing on that video, but it is a product overview. Then below that, towards the middle of the page, you've got that, what is the testimonial? And then there's no reason to do a testimonial until people know what the product is, right? And how it affects them. And then at the bottom of the page, you have late stage questions, frequently asked questions, lingering doubts, common objections, that, or maybe even a tutorial. All depends on their product or service. Here's a late stage question. Love the product, but how does this interact with our existing EMR, right? It could be anything like that. That's where that video lives because you've already sold them on the idea. Now, the video about the customer testimonial has to be constructed in a narrative because we all see the world through narratives. And here's what our customers see. This is what the story should be like. Now, this is coming from your mind. Once upon a time, your customer had a mission. They encountered obstacles along the way. They met their lovable mentor, which is your product, your solution, your team. And they overcame adversity and returned to their life transformed. Think about Luke Skywalker and the struggles, what he encountered, how he met Obi-Wan Kenobi, used the Force, overcame adversity, and transformed his life. These are the stories that are playing out in our head. And if we want to use it like a script into a client, talking to a camera about their success. This is a key opinion leader raving about it. Once upon a time, I had a mission and I encountered obstacles on the way. I had a device that was made me spend twice as long in the operating room. And my rescission rates, I had to have patients come back because the device wasn't that thorough or didn't cauterize, right? But then I met my lovable mentor. But then I met CoolScope. Then I met Medtronic. Then I met Dune Medical or Miradry. And they introduced me to blah, blah, and blah, their products, which allowed me to overcome my adversity. And my rescission rates went down dramatically. And then I went back to my life transformed as a better surgeon because I could provide a higher level of care. That's how we tell these stories. And they're emotional. And by emotional, I'm not saying a sob story. They are they are addressing the pain and frustration that people already experience.
We hit an hour in just a few minutes, so to honor people's time, I'm going to wrap up. But if you have a little extra time, we can go over. But for the folks who have to leave in 3 or 4 minutes, I would suggest the following. You just joined us for an hour. Thank you very much. And you learned something. You have 3 choices. Do absolutely nothing different. That's a choice. Second, do something different, but do it yourself. Figure it out, go do it. Third, ask Todd, ask me for help, because this is what we do. Todd's customers tend to be the Medtronics of the world, but no Medtronic is going to hire Joe Hage on their vendor list. They have big agencies. So if you are smaller or mid-size, chances are I can help you, because I do the account executive stuff and I do the creative stuff, and I have friends like Todd when I need to bring in the big guns. So Todd, do you have something to add to that in terms of who should reach you and for what circumstance?
If you're frustrated on your results, reach out to us. It's just that easy. We actually, I've never lost a client. They've all stayed with us over the years because we handle that frustration and help them solve that problem, which ultimately ties back to ROI, right? So if you've got a problem and you're frustrated about it, there are few people better than Joe or myself to handle that problem and help get you on the right track and set you up to be the rock star in your office. So everybody knows that you are innovative and you're pulling in new ideas and you're creating transformation for the sales team. And that's ultimately what matters. We would both love to be of help.
I just shared with the audience a link to my bi-weekly medical device marketing journal. You're welcome to subscribe if you like. And Todd, what is the address for your podcast, which is your most frequently updated content, yes?
Yep, every week we add an episode. Hit me up on LinkedIn every day or every couple days. I put up another video solving another problem for businesses in this space. But wirebuzz.com/blog is where my podcast episode is every week. And but you could also get that off of other platforms like iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, LinkedIn, or my Wirebuzz Insider group on Facebook.
Thank you very much. That's the top of the hour. I'll say thanks to those people who stayed up especially late or got up especially early. Thank you. And if you do have more questions, we're going to stay on just a few minutes and
Sure.
we'll continue with that. So let me go to those. I'd be anxious to get the link. Okay. Do animated infographics have the same engagement rate as true video?
It depends. I
I knew you were going to say
right.
that.
I don't mean to. I don't know about your product or service yet, but there's definitely a time and a place for animation. In our 2,700 videos we do a year, maybe 30% of those are medical animation. And what I like about medical animation is when you have something difficult to explain, like Joe showed on that homepage, then medical animation allows you to do things that you can't normally do. And you can also translate it into multiple languages. What you can't do is show the rock star of that space using the device in medical animation, right? So it depends what you're trying to accomplish. And after a conversation, it's pretty easy to start whittling it down.
Tell me about, you said flat out that some people are going to be really uncomfortable with this, talking about your competition on your website. I've attempted to do this when I had a real job at a company, and they were like, yeah, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
We're going to be hit with, where did you get your information? And, legal can say you can't, take that down and such. I understand precisely your point. They're going to Google it anyhow. What do you say as a reply when somebody challenges you on, no, we simply can't do that?
Well, at this point, you may not have a choice because, and for the foreseeable future,
you must do it.
Yeah, and the reason is it's not about, the dynamics have really swung out of control, and every marketer knows this. The legal's really in charge of marketing today. and the legal puts the brakes on it. But your customers, their demand is what drives the Davids that are crushing Goliath. How do you address the demand? And if 82% of people don't want to talk to your salesperson, but your legal team wants them to talk to the salespeople, then you've got a problem. So, so what I would recommend is a little bit of a come to Jesus. This is why our clients that get the best results send senior leadership here for training, because then we go in with them and level everybody up. So everything gets in the scripting phase, goes through legal and gets approved before it goes into animation or into production. Almost everything ends up into a teleprompter in front of our client. So whatever is said is pre-approved, and there's no guesswork in what the video is going to be at the end. Legal's already signed off on it. But legal needs to come to the reality that customers are now demanding information at the access of their fingers, and the salespeople have historically been the ones that have whispered this information. Whispers aren't good enough anymore. Now that information needs to be listed, so legal should get there and approve this, help modify it so everybody is marching at the same beat and explaining things with the same tactical savvy.
I know you use Wistia, so do I. How often, if ever, do you use the gate, like you watch 30 seconds worth of the video and then a slider comes in and says, want to keep watching? Tell us your email. Do you ever do that?
Yes. So I've got a couple. Off the top of my head, I don't know the stats, but
it depends.
It depends, but it also is a trade-off. And we in our strategy team, in fact, there's a strategy team session just about to start in this room right here. We start debating these things out, because if your goal is to get the most number of people to watch the content, maybe that gate that pops up is actually hurting you. So we really end up helping our clients debate through that. Like I put up that video on the wirebuzz.com/device page, the one that you've seen and you referenced. That video originally had a gate on it, but then we were noticing that people weren't going through the gate with the same type of frequency. So what did we do? We learned from what the customer wanted and we made an adjustment, removed the gate.
I am a big fan. It took me a long time to get there, removing gates, because so many clients will say, well, if we're just giving it away, we don't even know who's watching it, and then we can't follow up. So what good is that?
They'll raise their hand.
Those who care. Because there's nothing you can do to force someone to want to buy your thing.
It doesn't mean we don't. Yeah, we still have to educate.
And give them the education as easily as you can. David asks, what is the best marketing approach for marketing a new device that represents a brand new concept in medicine?
Video, right? And the best approach is figuring out who your core customer is and niche down into that industry. Start off in one, then branch out into others. So like we've got a client who is a diagnostic company. They came out with a early blood draw for lung cancer. And really, it's an early blood draw for cancer. But if they didn't niche down, they would have missed the riches that live in the niches. And they owned lung and then branched out into other modalities. Now they're like a $2 billion company, and they did this in just a few years, maybe 4 years. And so niche down, own your core, and then move out to the next core. What is that? And speak specifically to that target patient or that target physician's needs.
Last question, I think, and I really enjoyed this. I do lots of these webinars, but this is my wheelhouse, and talking to a professional I respect is a real treat, so thank you.
Me too.
Tom asks, is there any kind of metric about how many seconds of viewership that kind of matter? Because if you go on YouTube analytics,
yep.
I've got this hour-long video, average watch time 5 minutes, and I'm like, ugh, what was the point?
Yeah, look, guys, I'm the video guy. This is the industry term that gets thrown around with me, and I will tell you, and I will ask you to do yourself a favor and divorce yourself from time as part of the equation.
Why?
Time. Most marketers think that these videos need to be short, and then they ask me for an average. What is the average time that I should be expecting?
Watching.
Everybody's product or service is different. Everybody's, what you're trying to accomplish with videos. One video is about awareness. The other one might be about a testimonial or might be about the science. But an average wants me to take all those videos and provide a magic number like 87 seconds.
Mhm.
I will tell you that your goal is to transfer the most amount of information in the least amount of time. And if you feel like you don't have a powerful enough story, make separate videos for that. But the number one videos that appear on YouTube right now on the first page, on average, are 14 minutes and 50 seconds long. The average business video
Much
now,
longer than I suspect most people expected.
yes, but all we're really trying to do with these videos, we're not doing commercials. That's a product of another generation and other products. We are transferring information from our heads into our prospects' heads. So they raise their hand and say, I need to talk to a salesperson. So we have to figure out in the process, what is the information that needs to be transferred? And do we need to break that up? Or do we need to do that as one video? Like Marketo. Marketo, if you're familiar with them, their marketing automation platform. Marketo has a...
I'm not sharing the screen right now. Do you need it back?
I think it'll be really helpful.
Okay, let me put that on.
To answer your question,
yeah,
I think I can drill it in with my Marketo thing. Guys, I recently had Marketo's global head of marketing, Paolo Martin, on the Toddcast, and
very funny. That's very cute.
And Paolo said something to me that I thought would be so important that I want to make sure everybody knows about it. Look how thrilled I look. This is my brain, what I look like when I'm really thinking. Paolo said, hey, Marketo, we've got a 4-minute demo. This is where we show people about the power of Marketo and how it has a transformational experience on their business. Now, most marketers would be like, 4 minutes, no, that's too long. But we're panning for gold, because the people at the end that go past the 80% mark, those are buyers. And you can't do that with a short video. Marketo just released these stats with their 4-minute demo. They got an 1,100% increase in the rate of conversion. They got a 6 times increase in the speed in which a new lead became a marketing qualified lead, and 144% increase in the click-through rate on personalized video in their email. Now, Marketo isn't the only.
What does that mean? Personalized video and email?
They're using a video in their email that's like, hey, Joe, it's Todd from Wirebuzz. I love talking with you at ASCO. And when we discuss the device, but one of the cool things you may not know is this little port here. Can we jump on a call, because that port solves the exact problem that you and I talked about.
Leaving a video message.
That's right.
It's like a video voicemail.
That's right. And
they
do
play
that
the video in the email, or
yes.
Is it a photo and you get sent somewhere?
It depends. So it'll depend on what that end user is, but yes and yes.
What software are you using? Because I have been on Drift. I'm
good.
moving to Active Campaign, and they can't embed a video. I take a photo of the video and invite people to click, and I send them to a site.
Yes, I agree. Let me pull up a different slide deck, because I'm going to show you how easy it is. This is in my 90-minute speech.
I really appreciate the extra time, and I know.
Hey, no problem. I have to jump because I just pushed somebody a little bit who I'm doing an interview. Oh, I'm doing an interview with Vidyard. Don't tell them I just pushed them. So I use this Go Video on Vidyard, and I use it with HubSpot. But let me show you how easy it is. I use Gmail, but you can use this for Outlook or whatever your email server is. It works for almost all of them. But let's say I just got off the phone with a surgeon who loved the conversation we had. Yeah. I would go to my email, compose an email, then I'd go down to the bottom of my email and I click on the video camera, which would pull up my library of videos, or I'd create a new one. And I'd hit the camera and I'd say, hey, Joe, it's Todd Hartley. It was great. Dr. Joe, sorry. Here's the
Okay,
device.
so let me understand. Vidyard is the now available software platform to do specifically this. It's a premium service and you pay a little handsomely for it? What?
The base version is free. It comes with HubSpot. It's like the drug dealer that's giving you the little free sample. And before you know it, you start using it for all your teams because you see those Marketo results. And then I think the question boils down into what does it cost? And the real candid answer is I'm running this company and I don't have a clue. I really don't. But look, Marketo isn't alone. In just 6 months, Gordian used video to generate a $20 million pipeline and closed 6 million of that revenue. And Media Valet reduced the length of their average sales cycle by 50%. Now, I think that number is interesting because most sales teams are slow. They're slow because they aren't crushing deals the way their customers want to learn. And as such, their sales cycle is bogged down. And when Wirebuzz started, remember, Media Valet reduced their sales time by 50%. Before I started using video, I had a 9-week sales cycle. I used video to decrease the transfer of information. And within 3 weeks, people started buying regularly. I removed 66% of my sales time by using video in that cycle. And that's not easy. That was hard. But we don't do things because they're easy. We do things because they generate results.
Guys, I can't emphasize enough, Todd's the man when it comes to video and closing sales due to video. And if you start doing video and you're like, this isn't working for me, just turning on the video camera is insufficient. Have you gone to a really great film? Bohemian Rhapsody was amazing. I had a really bad day. Beth and I went, we were transfixed by this video, by this movie.
Yes.
And then I've gone to movies with my kids and I'm like, when the hell can I get out of here?
Yeah.
There are videos, and one of them engrossed me and one of them was like, okay. So yes, everyone can do video, but you have to tell a story, a compelling story that appeals to the right person at the right time, and blah, 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 other marketing stuff you already know. This stuff is important. It's the most important thing I'm talking about. It's Todd's livelihood. I implore you, I am shaking you by the shoulders. Do this.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
My wife and I, when we went to go see Bohemian Rhapsody, we pre-partied like we were going to see the band. Great movie.
It was. I wish we could stay on. I really enjoy this conversation. Let's get me on a Toddcast one of these days and we'll talk some more.
I look forward to it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I will have the replay. I will have the slides, which you'll send me, and we'll get this out to you. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye for now.